Hello everyone, welcome to Caroline's Craft Tree. Today a tutorial on how I made these pin stitch hole tags. So I've done a few tutorials on how to do the pin stitching, and this actual stitching part's the same, just the assembly and how I go about getting them. Because I wanted them nice on both sides, I kind of came up with a technique on how to get them with a finished look on both sides. So I've got some tags that I cut out using the big Tim Holtz tag die cut. You could cut them out by hand, that's not an issue. I have a 1 3/8 inch circle punch. I'm using that because that's the only circle punch I have. You could use die cuts, etc. too if you wanted. It would be a little tricky cutting them out by hand, but you could do it. I've got my pin stitch thing. It's just a sewing needle in a cork. I'm going to do a blue one, so I've got a sewing needle, got that. And then I have my trusty Stampin' Up! Piercing mat things. I absolutely love these things, and I've got a pretty good collection because I want this one here has circles on it, and also I will need the straight one. So the first things first, these are cut from file folders, just old file folders, nothing fancy about them. It doesn't matter if there's writing on them because you're not going to see that. So I don't know if you can see, but there's actually, when I cut them out using the die that I have, it puts a really rough part on the back, and you can definitely tell which is the front and which is the back. So I want two, and I'm going to put them back to back, just like so. I want to line them up, and then I'm going to punch my hole. Now, you can put them off to the side, you can put them in the middle, top, bottom, wherever. I usually put them on the bottom, and I want to leave some room because of the fact I'm going to stitch. So I got them like so. That's the only reason we need the circle punch. So I'm going to leave them together because when I pierce my holes, I want them to be the same on the front as on the back. So I'm going to use one of those little things just to hold it in place. I don't have another one handy, but that's okay. So now this is just foam board that you get at the dollar store. Nothing fancy, but it makes a great piercing mat. So I'm going to use this circle. Hopefully you can see the circles on there. They don't have any colors, but I am going to line that up. If I do it just right, that circle just fits. So now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go around in a circle. Now you could make a template, you could just freehand them and put them all the way around. When I first started doing this, I had a template that I made. So I'm just going to go all the way around in the circle. Now the actual stitching part, I'm not going to get into explaining that because you can actually go back into the stitching tutorials and you can find on how to pin stitch. And doing the actual circle part is no different than doing it. It's just that this one has the hole in it. Okay, so we've got that. So now if we take them apart, both of them are covered with the holes. So now I am going to stitch around each of them. Now I can do the same stitch, I can do a different stitch. You can see on this one I've used like purples, and I've done the light in every second hole and then the dark just to give it a little bit extra. But on the back it's exactly the same. So when you're just looking at it, you can't really tell that it's stitched on both sides. That's how I'm going to get it finished on both sides, is because each piece is done separately and then they're put together. Now the same as this one, I've done like the peach color in the middle with the brown on the outside, and the same on that side. So then they look exactly the same. This one I'm going to do blue. So I think I'll do the light blue in the background. So I'm just going to take a big chunk. I take a fairly long chunk when I'm doing this because I don't want to have knots. And I don't want to have to keep starting my thread and whatnot. So I've probably got about a yard of thread here that I'm going to use. And I'm just going to use one strand. You could use more, but okay. Now the fun part of threading the needle. It's hard when you can barely see the needle, let alone the hole in the needle. There we go. Okay, and the one thing that I didn't get out, hold on. Some of you may have seen these tags on Gayle's channel. I sent her a couple as a gift, and she used them in a video and whatnot, so. Okay, so now I'm going to start on the back, and like I say, I'm not going to do a lot on the actual stitching because you can go back and review on the how to pin stitch. And I just tape the back because it will get glued as well. So now I'm going to just go, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Let's do 20. So I'm going to mark that down because the other one I'll have to do the same amount of stitches. Okay. So now I'm just going to go around and around and around and around. Don't pull your thread too tight. You want it tight, but not too tight because you don't want to buckle the hole. So I'm probably going to fast forward through some of this just because of the fact that it's not really the pin stitch tutorial, it is just how I assemble these. So let me just stitch this up, and I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'll come back when I start the next one just so you can see how I actually line the things up and stuff. So, okay, I'll be back shortly. Okay, so I've got this one done. Well, partly done. I've got the light blue in. Now, because of the fact I've gone in every stitch, this one here, it doesn't matter where I start, as long as I go the same number of holes away to line it up. Now, if they didn't line up, that's not the end of the world. You're just going to see more of the thread. In ones such as this, where I've gone in every second hole with the purple, I had to plan out to make sure that 2 holes was going to work for it and pick the right hole to go into. Just by doing a few practice circles, you'll get it right away. And then when I did the back side, I wanted to make sure that I went in the same hole with the light as I did on the other side, because I did want them to line up. Now, to do that, you can easily put them back to back, and if you know where you've started, which you can put a little mark, I put a little mark here on mine. I did that off camera because I thought of it and thought, oh, that's a really good idea. So you could just go like so. When you're starting hole, this one you can just pull out and you know where you're starting on that one. So let's tape down the end. I try not to tape all the ends in the same spots. Like here, you can see the different, I did have to start another thread. But that way when they get glued together, you don't get like a big lump of thread on the back side. So now I can start. So as you can see, the other one, I was in a totally different spot, but as long as I go around 20, 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20. So that should be where that is. Now I can put these together and I can tell exactly if I'm in the right spot. Now you can't see because you can't see the underneath thread. But I can see, excuse me, that is going to line up where the other one was. So now I can go ahead and do the outer circle on this one. And then I'm going to make an inside circle using this. Very similar to what I did with this pink and brown one. Except this is going to be in blues. So the pin stitching really is just going up one hole and down the other. I find the hand stitching very relaxing. So it works out really good. And I really enjoy the look that it gives. Sometimes I find the sewing machine is a little harsh on the paper. You couldn't do this on the machine anyways. So I will come back when I get this blue part done and I'll show you my next step. Be right back. Okay, so I have both of these done now. So now if I put them back to back and line them up, then you can see that they line up. And once they're glued together, it's going to be finished on both sides. So now I'm going to do with the darker thread, I am going to go and probably go like from here to there, and then it's going to make a smaller thing. And you can see just by holding your thread like that how big it's going to make it. Hopefully you can see that in the camera. So I've got this set up, and I'm going to do every hole again. So I don't really need to know on the other one where exactly I need to start. I really recommend just doing a few circles, or you could do squares, you could do pretty much anything you wanted. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think I'll do 12. So that's going to give it that much. So that should be good. So let's mark that down too, so then when I go to do the second one, I'll know to go 12 away from where I'm going. And again, I'm just going to go round and round. And till I've gone pretty much around twice. Because you want to make sure that each of your holes has the little V in it. You can see right here, like I've got 2 threads going down each hole. Just do a few stitches here. As I say, I would recommend just getting some cardstock and making a few circles, and then doing some on your actual project. So you can see how that's going to be on there. You'll see it a lot. It'll be a lot darker once I've gone around my 2 times. And you can use any color, any kind of threads and whatnot. You can do as many layers as you want. You know, you want to do 2 circles, 3 circles, 4 circles. Just keeping in mind the more you do, the bulkier it will get. So, okay, so I'm going to do this color on both of these, and then I'll come back and we'll do the final steps on making this tag. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got the second round done. So what you can see there. And they pretty much look the same. So then when they go back to back, they line up. So now we can glue them together. Now when I glue them together, I really focus on getting enough glue around there and around the threads to hold it together. But not so much, I don't want it to seep over the edge and get onto the threads. And then I want to glue this really good, and of course around the edge. I will be stitching around mine as well. So let's start by putting some around here. I want to get some on the top of the thread. And get it over there. And now I'm going to focus on the edges. Sometimes I feel that the glue is going to dry before I get all around the edges. I want to get around that hole too. Because it does take quite a while to glue up an item like this. Okay, so now let's put these back to back. Now before I start pressing it down, I want to make sure that I've got my holes lined up. And that's what I line up first, is my hole. because I can always trim down the tag a little bit on a side that maybe wasn't perfect or something. Okay, so I want to get around that hole really good, pressing it down good. And you can do any shape. It doesn't have to be a circle. I've done circle and heart so far with these tags. Squares would be great. Ovals would be fine as well. I actually also want to try one with like a strip, taking a strip out the side, and then doing kind of like a crisscross pattern or something that I'm going to play with yet. I actually just thought of that just when I was making this tag. So that'll be something that I will work on. If this is something that you don't think you can make or you don't want to make, I don't really have any in my shop, but I could do a custom order for you. You'd have to message me on Etsy for that. So I am going to stitch around this, just like I've done with these ones. The only thing these need is to be distressed, and I will just use vintage photo for that. I'm not sure if I'll do blue. Might see if I've got like a dirty blue or something. I don't want the stitching around the edge to stand out too much, but I don't want it to be unmatched either. So let's see, I might just use this dark blue. So there we go for that. Now, as I say, you can do any shape. Having a die cut or a punch is definitely way easier because you can get them lined up. But as long as your hole lines up and you know your tags are the same, it'll work. You could even cut the tag out by hand and use your punch or a die cut for this here. But I really like them. As I say, I will do the edge on this one as well. So let's do that edge. I'm going to again use this here, and I'm going to use this straight edge here. I want it to be fairly close to the edge, so I just line it up and I punch my holes and I go all the way around. And yes, it's time consuming, but I really, really like it, and that's what makes it all worthwhile. I had a pokey tool, but I find the needle and the cork work so much better because it keeps my holes fairly small, and I want small holes. I want them just big enough for my needle to go through. And I always use a fairly small needle. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a fairly big eye. It's not a beading needle, but it's nice and small, so it slips through the holes really easy. And these do take a bit of patience. How long does it take me to do one? Well, it depends on how focused I am on it. I could probably do 4 in an evening while I watched a movie. Maybe only 3. I never rush doing my crafts. Whether something takes a day or 5 minutes, I like to put just as much care in every project that I do as I can. Because I kind of think, well, it's not a race. I don't need to, you know, get things done right away and whatnot. And I find that if I rush, then I don't feel good about my project. So I just take my time and I relax and keep it stress-free. We have enough stress with everything else going on without being stressed about doing craft stuff. Okay. When I do the top, it gets a little trickier because, you know, I kind of gotta follow the curves of the tag, but I'm getting pretty good at doing this stuff now because I've done enough of them. But these Stampin' Up! Piercing mats they are one of my most used items. And they come in different packs of different things, and they have been very helpful in the hand stitching and getting my holes where I want them and stuff. But I did a lot of hand stitching before I even heard of these things. And they were just in some stuff that somebody, that I bought from somebody, and I'm like, well, I'm never going to use those. And then it dawned on me, you know, I can use those lines, because I had made cardboard ones, and I had measured the holes and whatnot. So, like this is the one with the circle that I use, but it's got different things. And of course, these things go with some of their dies and some of their other punches. I have this heart punch as well, so that makes it easy to punch the hole and use it. So, but these are the different sets I have. This one is Eclectic Paper Piercing Pack. And then Paper Piercing Essentials, Festive Paper Piercing Pack, and Occasions. So, and they all have, like each one is a set of 3 of these things. So you can see, and like I say, you know, they match. I think I have that butterfly punch too. So, you know, it gives you a good idea of what they are. So, I have no idea how many they actually did, how many different sets, but I always look for ones that I don't have, which I really like them. So I will stitch around this, and then I will come back and talk to you again. Be right back. Okay, so I've got it stitched all the way around. I just wanted to show what I do with my knots. So I've got my 2 ends, and I'm just going to tie it in a knot 3 times. Number 2, and number 3. And then I have this glue. This is Stampin' Up! Glue. And this is the only thing I use this for. And it is, I just put a little tiny dab on my knots. I like this because it comes out really slow, and the tip is so nice and small, which I really like. So just trim those down. I'll trim them right off after the glue sets. So let's just ink this up. I can ink it up even though that glue is wet, because I'm not really going to be touching that. You don't have to glue it. Or, sorry, you don't have to distress it. So, I really like what Gayle did with the tags that I sent her. I'll try really hard to remember to link that video below so that you can take a look at what she did. She put a picture and some little fabric scraps on it and stuff like that. It turned out really, really cute. I really liked them. Okay. One more side. And there we go. There is one finished tag, other than cutting those off once they're dry. But it gives it a really nice texture. It looks cool. It looks different. Yeah, and as I make more, I've been doing this one, and a few things have been popping in my mind of things to do. So I cut out some tags. I cut all these out here, file folders. So I have lots to play with. I thought if I'm going to cut some out, I may as well do lots. So I have lots to keep me busy. I hope you like this. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. And yeah, I'll try to help you with any problems you have with them. My biggest suggestion is do a few circles just on a scrap piece of paper or something, and try it and get your rounds going and figure that part out. The actual stitching is actually fairly easy, or I find it fairly easy. Each of us are different, but yeah, I really like them. And I hope you like them, and I hope you will try them. And I would love to see what you make. So enjoy the tutorial, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.